Napoleon, the man who conquered Europe and lost his soul. There are men who are born into history, and there are men who make history bow before them. Napoleon Bonaparte did not conquer the world by accident. It was as if every star in the firmament conspired to create a perfect storm, a revolution that shattered a millennial order, a people hungry for glory, and a young Corsican with a hunger for eternity. This is the story of the man who redrew Europe's borders with the tip of his sword, who codified laws that still govern us today, and who finally discovered that not even the greatest of empires can fill the void of an insatiable heart. Corsica, 1769. 1 year after France conquers it, a child is born who will make France pay for that annexation. Napoleon Bonaparte, son of a family of minor nobility, without fortune but with ambitions. A solitary child, mocked for his foreign accent in French schools, finding refuge in books of history and mathematics. What does it matter if the other children laugh? He seemed to think. Someday I will be the one who laughs last. From his native island, he inherited wounded pride, the cunning of one always at a disadvantage, and a thirst for recognition that no ocean could quench. 1789. While crowned heads roll in Paris, the young Lieutenant Bonaparte recognizes what few see. It's not the end of the world, but a chessboard flipped over where all pieces are in play. When other aristocratic officers flee, he remains. When chaos reigns, he maintains discipline. At 24, he recaptures Toulon from English hands with a brilliant plan. At 26, he disperses the monarchists in Paris with a whiff of grapeshot and becomes General Vendemiaire. At 27, he takes command of the army of Italy and begins to transform a faltering republic into the empire he always dreamed of. What distinguished Napoleon was not just his courage but his mind. While other generals moved armies like rigid blocks, he transformed them into fluid organisms, capable of separating and reuniting, of deceiving and surprising. His strategy, speed, concentration of forces at the enemy's weak point, and the ability to inspire ordinary men to extraordinary acts. A soldier will fight long and hard for a bit of colored ribbon, he said. He understood that men don't just kill and die for bread, but for glory, for a place in history. And Napoleon had glory in abundance to promise. But Bonaparte's true genius was understanding that nations are not forged by swords alone, but with laws, roads, schools. While his boots were still stained with the mud of battle, he dictated reforms that would transform the daily lives of millions. The civil code that still forms the basis of justice in half the world. An educational system based on merit, not birth. An efficient public administration that survived all subsequent revolutions. As he said, "My true glory is not the 40 battles I won, but what I have done with the civil code." December 1804. In Notre Dame Cathedral, a son of Corsica takes the crown from the Pope's hands and places it on his own head. The message is clear. He owes his power not to God, nor to blue blood, but to himself and his people. It is the culmination of an unimaginable transformation. The mocked foreigner has become the arbiter of Europe. But in this moment of triumph lies the seed of his downfall. Because Napoleon, the revolutionary, falls in love with the glitter of the crowns he once despised. The defender of the Republic becomes a creator of kings. His brothers, his generals, even himself, all dressed in the robes that the revolution had promised to burn forever. 1805 Austerlitz, the perfect battle. 3 emperors on the field, and only one left standing at the end of the day. Napoleon at his peak, seemingly invincible. But like all empires built too quickly, his contained the seeds of its own destruction. The same ambition that elevated him began to blind him. Spain becomes a bloody quagmire of guerrillas. England, inaccessible on its island, slowly strangles his economy. And then the fateful decision, Russia. 600,000 men march east in 1812. Barely 100,000 return, defeated not so much by the Russian army as by general winter, hunger, and the vanity of a man who finally believed in his own myth of invincibility. The fallen eagle returns. 1815. Escaping from his exile in Elba, Napoleon traverses France while armies sent to stop him join his triumphant march. The 100 Days, one last desperate attempt to reclaim glory. But in the muddy fields of Waterloo, under the rain that delays his artillery, Bonaparte faces not only Wellington and Blücher, but the weight of his own accumulated errors. The end comes on a June afternoon, when the Imperial Guard, which had never known defeat, finally retreats. The Guard dies, but does not surrender, says the legend. And with it dies the Napoleonic dream of a Europe unified under the French tricolor. St. Helena, a volcanic rock lost in the Atlantic. There, for 6 years, the one who once controlled the destiny of nations finds himself counting the hours, dictating memoirs that rewrite history in his favor, contemplating what might have been. Greatness is nothing unless it be lasting, he had once said. And now, faced with eternity, perhaps he understands that true durability was not in the conquered territories, but in the ideas and codes that would survive long after his empire crumbled. May 5, 1821. The emperor dies, possibly poison, possibly of cancer. But physical death was just the beginning of his immortality. Napoleon understood, better than anyone, the power of image and narrative. He cultivated his legend in life, and it flourished after his death. He became a symbol for everyone. For revolutionaries, the common man who defied kings. For conservatives, the restorer of order. For nationalists, the symbol of national pride. For dreamers, the example that a single individual can change the course of history. What remains of Napoleon is not just his military victories, nor even his legal code. It is the persistent idea of meritocracy, that a society should be open to talent, wherever it comes from. As he said, every soldier carries in his knapsack the marshal's baton. This notion, revolutionary then, remains the ideal to which we aspire today, even when we fail to achieve it. Napoleon Bonaparte is a mirror where each generation sees its own obsessions, unbridled ambition, individual genius, the price of pride. He was like all of us, a living contradiction. The revolutionary who became emperor, the rationalist who believed in his star, the builder of empires who died in exile. Perhaps his most enduring lesson is about the limits of power and human ambition. Because in the end, not even the man who conquered almost all of Europe could conquer the dissatisfaction of his own heart. As he confessed in St. Helena, "Glory is fleeting, but obscurity is forever." A bitter reflection from a man who, having touched the stars, spent his last days contemplating the marine horizon, dreaming of battles he could no longer fight, of a world he could no longer dominate. Beyond the strategist and conqueror, there are unexpected facets of his life that shaped history in unforeseen ways. Napoleon wasn't particularly short. He measured approximately 5 feet 6 inches, 1.68 meters, a normal height for his time. His famous pose with his hand inside his waistcoat wasn't an eccentricity, but a posture considered elegant at the time. He was an avid reader. He always traveled with a portable library of hundreds of volumes. He forever changed military tactics, emphasizing speed over rigid formation. He developed the numbered military corps still used by many armies today. He was deeply superstitious and believed in his star of destiny. His first wife, Josephine, was 6 years older than him and already had 2 children. The Continental blockade against England, which prohibited trade, led to the invention of beet sugar as a substitute. He sold Louisiana to the United States to finance his European wars, doubling the size of the young American Republic. In St. Helena, he wrote extensive memoirs that helped construct his own legend. If you've been fascinated by this rise and fall worthy of a Greek tragedy, don't forget to subscribe for future journeys through the crossroads of history.